How is it going, muchachos? It's your boy Stewie here, and listen, we have just finished another month. Round of applause for everybody involved. You've done great work. February's always a fun one, isn't it? I'm trying to remember what happens in Valentine's Day. Yeah, Day of Love, good one. Pancake Day is also in there, where we eat pancakes as it says on the fucking tin there. But most importantly, it is another month in which I watched a butt ton of films with these here eyeballs. So guess what, mother lovers? It's time to go through everything I watched in February. And let me tell you, this one was a month of medium length. Because look at this thing. Again, just another sweet, chilled, relaxed old time in February. Don't need to do any scrolling. It's right there on one little page. Love it when it happens. But before we get into it all, it's time for some housekeeping. Listen, if you want to be seeing what I'm watching when I'm watching it, you can follow me on actual Letterboxd through the link down in my description. But do make sure you're subscribed as well while you're down there if you don't want to be missing monthly roundups exactly like this one on the channel. It's a fun old time. And listen, because I just love treating you, I've got a 30-day free Mubi trial code for you, which means you can watch amazing cinema on the best streaming platform. I'm not just saying that because I've worked with them before, it actually is. For free, for 30 days. Link is down there. A couple of the films on the list are Mubi films too, so hey, you can watch them for free. But with that, the house is truly kept. It's time to talk about some films. Look at this bad boy. 2nd of February is when I watched the first film of the month, and boy was it a doozy because I rewatched the original Scream. I'd love to say it was something to do with the fact there's a new one coming out, but honestly, it's such a good film. There's never a bad time to rewatch Scream, truly. All-time a third act, when will this film get old? It's true, Stu, when will this film get old? I don't think it ever will. It's really quite alarming how kind of relevant it still feels. It's kind of batshit. I feel like Wes Craven was maybe, I don't know, did he go to the future and work out exactly what's going to make this film click in every decade? Because it's done it. Maybe in like 50 years' time when we're not on Earth anymore and we're all eating food out of sachets and we fly through space and we talk to rock people, we'll be going, this film's starting to feel a bit dated, but maybe not even then, you know. So good, 4.5 stars for Scream. I don't know why I haven't given it 5, but I'm not here to adjust. I'm simply here to observe, which is one of the biggest cop-outs I've ever said. We'll go on to the next film. 5th of February, I watched Basic Instinct, which is a film I've never seen before and is obviously a classic in the erotic thriller genre. I just feel like, you know, slashers and erotic thrillers are just my jam right now, and I kind of got into a little bit of a hole with them, and Basic Instinct was just one of those I should have seen this before, but I haven't seen it, so I needed to get off the watch list watches. And unsurprisingly, thoroughly enjoyed it. There are some questionable moments in there. There's a scene in which Michael Douglas's character forcibly has sex with the female character in the film, which is immediately awful. And it just sort of ignores it for the rest of the film. That was weird, but aside from that, it ticked all the boxes I want from an erotic thriller. My goodness. Oh, fuck yeah, dude. Verhoeven by way of De Palma, banger ending. I love that. Oh, I made myself smart. Oh, fuck yeah, dude. Who do I think I am? Oh, good shit. There's just something so fantastically 90s about the way that this film navigates what it's doing. And yes, I am, 30 years late to this, but I'm a little bit in love with Sharon Stone. I feel like everyone has to go through that moment, don't they? And I'm there. 4 stars for Basic Instinct. More like Advanced Instinct, am I right? Because let me tell you, the techniques on display here from a filmmaking standpoint, they ain't basic. Then the next day I went to the cinema to check out the new one from M. Night Shyamalan, which is not a sentence I ever really enjoy saying, although I'm at least intrigued when I say it. I don't need to be the first one to say that M. Night Shyamalan he's had more misses than hits, right? His last film, Old, was terrible. I talked about it on one of the last month on Letterboxd from last year. Didn't have anything glowing to say about it. But I will say, Knock at the Cabin was surprisingly not that bad. Sense a bit of hesitation there. It's not really good, but it is at least entertaining and like decent enough. This thing really looks great and the camera mines everything it can from the space, but there's a certain lack of ambiguity in the reveals of the last act that really undermine things here, and Shyamalan just can't help himself with explaining the point in the most literal and sudden ways. It feels like it doesn't have a conviction in areas where I'd like to have seen it be a bit more ballsy. Like, for all the talk of M. Night Shyamalan being able to do whatever he wants because he finances his own stuff, which I do think is a really admirable thing, and I like that he's doing it, and he is able to play around a lot more than I think maybe studios would allow him. It does still feel like he's taking the easy route often. Like, come on, man. Have some fucking balls. Like, this film just feels like it does exactly what it expects to do, which I gather from the novel isn't how the story is supposed to be delivered. It's supposed to be subversive and interesting, and it's not very subversive. It feels like it falls back on a very easy climax. 3 stars for Knock at the Cabin. Then we had quite a long break in watching films because life got in the way and some things occurred, but then we came back on the 14th and we caught up on a rom-com which came out on Amazon Prime, which I was kind of accidentally quite excited for because of the talent involved. That one was Somebody I Used to Know, which stars Alison Brie, who I love from Community, is directed by her husband, Dave Franco, and is written by the two of them, who are in an actual real-life relationship, obviously. So you sort of go, this is going to be one of those great rom-coms which pulls from life experiences and feels genuinely authentic and personal, in the vein of something maybe like The Big Sick. That's kind of what I was hoping for. It was disappointing. Yeah. It's just very bland. A weirdly bland film for the talent involved. Alison Brie and Dave Franco are clearly goofy people, and they are clearly trying to convey that through the film, but it ultimately ends up feeling more contrived than it does authentic, and that hurts it. It was frustrating. I don't know, I really expected to love this more, and I don't think it really clicked until like the final 10 minutes. The ending I liked. Like, I liked where it ends up going, and I like the way it all wraps together, and I feel like it's that final 10 minutes where its personality and what it's trying to do and say end up really coming through and feeling more alive and fun. But all the way up until that, it does just feel remarkably kind of bland, which is really a shame because fun things are happening. 2.5 stars for Somebody I Used to Know. Bang in the middle, just a completely forgettable average film. Abed and Annie in the same film together should have been a complete delight. And it was fun when they were on, but yeah, come on, man. Come on. Then next up on the 18th, I watched a David Cronenberg classic, which I've never seen, but I have been wanting to watch for so long, and I finally bit the bullet. It was Crash, not to be confused with the Oscar winner Crash, which we won't discuss. This one is perhaps the most kind of streamlined and effective Cronenberg film I've seen yet, although I haven't seen all of his films, I have to admit. It's about people that have a sort of fetish for car crashes and car crash victims, and it is an incredibly horny film. Like, my God, this is a horny film. But goodness gracious, this film was good. I mean, I don't really know where to start. There are some absolutely stupidly effective scenes in here that really do feel like nothing I've ever seen before, really, which is, I guess, more than you could ever really want from a film. Like, if you're watching a film which feels so stupidly singular, you know you're watching something memorable. My Letterboxd review was simply just, I mean, holy shit, dude. So I don't really have much else to say there, but man, this is so good. 4.5 stars for Crash. Then on the 19th, I continued down a little rabbit hole I've been going on lately, which is 70s thrillers. I just feel like the 70s and the 80s at the moment are decades which I'm really enjoying going back and revisiting and watching classics from that I haven't seen before. I just love the way that 70s and 80s thrillers look. They just feel so singular and so dirty and gritty, and it makes for such good thrillers. And one of the ones I went back and watched for the first time was Night Moves. This is, of course, the 70s Arthur Penn neo-noir thriller starring Gene Hackman about a detective that is hired to go and find someone's daughter who has run away. That's all I'm going to say about it if you haven't seen it already. And yeah, this thing just absolutely ripped. It was everything I wanted from a neo-noir 70s thriller starring Gene Hackman. But I was surprised at the way it ends up diving into its characters and its themes. It was much more introspective than I expected, which was a really pleasant surprise. Oh man, this was just a through and through banger. Top grade Hackman in a surprisingly deep and introspective 70s neo-noir. And my God, the ending. Like, I just didn't expect it to be as kind of stark an ending and as kind of frank of an ending. Yeah, man, this thing was so good. I loved it. I cannot wait to rewatch it. So 4.5 stars goes to Night Moves. And then we night moved along to another Gene Hackman classic, which I haven't seen. And I guess some people are going to be like, what the heck? You hadn't seen it up until this point? But listen, these things happen. It was a French Connection. Let me be the first person ever to say, man, this is a picture that moves, huh? Freaking makes an hour of the hack following fellas feel like pure adrenaline. Sheesh. Sheesh indeed, past Stu. Seriously, I was so impressed by the way that Friedkin tackles this story, because it's an incredibly simple sort of cops chasing drug dealers film, right? On the surface, what's going on isn't hugely complex, I guess, but it's the way that that's navigated by the performances and the direction from Friedkin just feels so stupidly engaging and stupidly adrenaline filled for a film which is, as I said, just pretty much mostly people following people tailing people. Like, a good 3/4 of this film feels like Hackman just walking down streets tailing people. 4 stars for The French Connection. Banger of a classic. And then on the 22nd, I caught Pearl, which is the prequel to X, the Ty West slasher film from last year that we have been waiting for so long to watch in the UK. It came out in the States, I think, in September, and we haven't even got it yet. It's out next week, I believe, over here in the UK, mid-March, depending on when this video goes up. There is going to be a full review for this one on the channel, so I'll keep things brief here. Just, I'm not giving you nothing. You're getting some full thoughts, is all I'm saying. Mia Goth Blow Your Nose Challenge is all I said about this one. She really is a snotter when she cries her. It's like her and Viola Davis are competing for who can snot the most. I'm not talking about the most relevant thing here, am I, in regards to this film? This was a real slapper. It was really good. I don't think I enjoyed it quite as much as X, just because I feel like X was much more of a fleshed out slasher film, which just happens to be a little bit more in line with my sensibilities of what I enjoy in horror films. But this was a really effective and really absorbing and fun and engrossing character study. So it was different to X in a surprising and subversive and interesting way that maybe sort of was hindered a little bit by expectations, I suppose. So I'm interested to see how this one changes on rewatch. But yeah, for now, 3.5 stars for Pearl. Then on the 23rd, I saw Cocaine Bear, which is, I don't really need to explain what it is. It's about a bear that does cocaine. Best when it leans way into the slasher with a bear vibe, mostly just not very funny and weirdly limp. Suspect the premise alone will be used as a shield against criticisms. I can't really fault it too much for doing what it says on the tin. It's just that the tin's half empty. Look at me, look, isn't that a poignant little note to leave that Letterboxd review on? Whew. I mean, crucially, it wasn't very funny. It felt like it had the same joke to say over and over. And occasionally that was funny, and occasionally that was, well, mostly that was just kind of flat and limp, and I didn't really find it very funny at all. It knows that it wants to be a B-movie, silly, absurd, bear does cocaine film, but I'm not convinced hugely that it actually really knows how to be an effective B-movie. I think it goes, yeah, we've got a bear that does cocaine, we're just going to heighten that and be silly, and we'll just let that do it for the whole thing. But I think it needs to do more in its tone and in its approach to make that really fly. And I would have loved to have seen a little bit more kind of stupid, silly, actual practical gore in there. There is a lot of really cool, fun, practical stuff in there, but it feels like every practical scene is sort of half practical and half digital, and it feels, I don't know, it feels a little bit more manufactured than I think it'd like to have come off as. 2.5 stars for Cocaine Bear. But next up on the 25th, I caught Broker, which is a Korean sort of drama. Yeah, I was going to say thriller. It's not a thriller, it's a drama. I've been really excited for this one for a while now because it's been gathering a lot of buzz from wherever it's been showing. And it just sounded like a really interesting premise, and it ended up being a really interesting premise. I am intending to chat a little bit more in detail about this one on the channel, so I'll keep it relatively brief here, in the knowledge that you'll get some meatier thoughts down the line. A really wonderful, complex exploration of familial responsibility and purpose. Beautifully scored and acted. Loved it. I really enjoy films which aren't afraid to firmly sit themselves in a very kind of grey moral area, as long as they have a committed thing to say and themes to explore. And definitely this is a film which is very committed to exploring specific themes of kind of purpose and guilt and family and place. 4 stars for Broker. Then on the very same evening, I thought I would muddy the waters by watching a film which I missed when it came out in cinemas last year, that I frankly don't have any desire to watch. But sometimes it's a Saturday night and you just want to kick back and watch something that isn't really probably going to be very good, but that has dinosaurs in it. So I watched the last Jurassic World film, Jurassic World Dominion. I almost don't want to give this too much time to talk about, because this film was so bad. Like, this was such a catastrophic fuck up that I borderline can't believe it. I wasn't excited even slightly for this one. I didn't like the first Jurassic World. The second one wasn't particularly good, but I actually think was at least more entertaining and engaging, and I think had a bit more personality to it. So I actually am one of the rare people that thinks the second Jurassic World film is better than the first. But this one was, my God, it was so devoid of any life or charm or emotion or tension or anything. It was just things happening terribly. What in the actual shit fuck was my review for this one, and I stand by it. I can't quite believe that they thought this was like the way to end this trilogy or franchise. What in the name of fuck? Like, at one point, Laura Dern explains to Sam Neill that Jeff Goldblum's character slid into her DMs? I mean, what the fuck, Colin Trevorrow? 1 star for Jurassic World Dominion. It should be a criminal offense to make dinosaurs this boring. What in the name of fuck? But I guess the good benefit of like watching a film that bad is that the next film you're gonna watch is almost definitely gonna be a step up. And it was, because I rewatched Nope. This was, as you'll know, one of my favorite films of 2022. If you've seen my best of 2022 list, you'll know that. If you haven't seen it, guess what? You can catch up on it. There's a little self-plug. Link in the description down below if you want to see what I thought of the 10 best films of last year. But I saw Nope a few times in cinemas, and we just got a brand spanking new TV as our kind of like treat purchase of the year. So I was like, hey, what's going to be the first film to watch on 4K on this brand spanking new TV, which costs us, frankly, a little bit too much? It had to be Nope. I've owned it on 4K and I hadn't rewatched it yet, so it just sat there waiting to be watched. And my God, everything about, I love this film so much, but it is such a frankly stunning film. Every time it cuts to IMAX ratio, it's a full body holy fuck moment, I swear to God. Yeah, honestly, it's such a breathtaking film. And if you missed it in the cinema, I just feel for you, man. I just feel sad that you were able to miss that. Like, there's a lot of talk about films being better in cinemas, and sometimes that feels more warranted than others, but this really was... It's just a huge film to look at. I have got a full review, obviously, on the channel for it, and I've talked about it in length before on other videos on the channel, so I won't go into much more detail. But yes, 4.5 stars for Nope. Absolute banger of a film. And then we finished the month off on the very last day of February with Close, which is a film which I have just reviewed on the channel. So again, we'll keep it brief because you can see my in-depth thoughts if you want to see those down in the description below. I missed this one at the film festival last year, and a lot of people had said, hey Stu, you're gonna really love this one, so like, why the hell did you go and miss it? And listen, man, time. But this was stupidly well performed and just a gutting and supremely heart-wrenching exploration of the weight of what isn't said between people. Yeah, I was so impressed with how this film was so effectively able to explore that really kind of complex emotional feeling of not being able to say something you really want to say to people, and yet still communicating with other people in that kind of deeper, I guess, subconscious level. Like, it just feels so unbelievably relatable in that sense. And is, as a result, a very effective look at grief and guilt. Man, yeah, and just such good performances. Really, really enjoyed this thing. 4 stars for Close. And that is how we ended February, ladies and gentlemen. Another kind of chilled, relaxed month with not too many watches, but I guess slightly more than January, so like, we're on the up. Of course, as usual, please do let me know what you watched in February in the comments down below. I want to know your best first-time watches, any banger rewatches, any terrible ones in there, any gems in there, anything you think I should be putting on my watch list to check out in March. Let me know in the comments down below. We'll have a little chat there. My Letterboxd link is down in the description below. You can go follow me there, as well as links to all my socials and a 30-day free trial from Mubi. I will, of course, see you guys very soon for some more thoughts on more films, and we'll be back next month to chat about everything I've been watching in March, which is shaping up to be a much more fun month, I think, in terms of just wild flicks. And let us see how many of them include The Hack. What a man, huh?